Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Dream League. We're into game 2 between Complexity and Moscow 5. Moscow 5, of course, did lose the first match going to Complexity. I'm only Pixel, I'm here with Draskell, but enough about us, more about the game because the picks and bans are well underway indeed. And Draskell, we missed a little bit, so can you sum up what are we seeing and why are we seeing it?
Okay, so we see a Troll Warlord because why wouldn't you pick Troll Warlord? I mean, that one's pretty self-explanatory, but I believe it was Chessie who mentioned that Lina is a hero that Complexity like to use quite a bit. It's going to be taken up by Moscow 5 here. And of course, Venge, Lina are also two very, I guess you would refer to them as chalk picks because they're just so common that you don't really need to explain why they're good anymore. They're just all around great heroes. And now for Complexity, they take up a Zeus, a hero who can do a whole lot of different things. So instead of going over each individual hero and saying why I think they're good, I want to talk about something that we don't actually say every game, and that's lane ambiguity. Okay, well, what the hell does that mean? It just means that when you see a Troll and a Zeus, you don't know what the lanes are going to be.
No.
Because the flexibility of saying later on into the draft, the bans sometimes are more indicative of what you want to pick than what heroes you already have. Because if you're banning like an offlaner, for example, then that means that maybe you're worried that your safe lane is going to be in trouble because you're going to roam a lot or something like that. So it's just one way of looking at it. So for the side of Complexity, they left themselves pretty wide open, and so have Moscow 5. I mean, Lina, Dazzle, Venge, Bristle. There are a multitude of combinations that you can run in terms of laning phase with either of these heroes. If I were to look at this draft and say who I think has the better chance of having something that you can't really predict, I'd probably say M5, just because Sand King is one of those heroes that typically is seen as a jungler. You know, you sit in the jungle, you get your blink, get your arcane boots, and then you try to make stuff happen after that. So if anything, I think M5 are going to be playing their aggressive style here in game number 2.
Okay, and it certainly does indeed feel like that. The bans pretty much standard stuff. Complexity, I believe they were the side that banned out the Night Stalker in the first game. They do so again for the second time. And now Complexity themselves with the 4th pickup. Maybe that will begin to make it a little bit clearer what they have got going as a game plan. But as you said, Moscow 5, aggressive draft again, and the Dazzle Bristleback Vengeful Spirit combo. I mean, even throwing in the Lina with the Fiery Soul stacks, that is a lot of physical damage, and they're certainly not going to be lacking in that department.
Yeah, this time around, it's not going to be any shortage of physical damage coming out from the side of Call either, as they have a Troll Warlord, and even just having that hero on your team means that everyone is going to deal some damage. You know, it's kind of the same as what a Dazzle gives you, except a Troll is more on demand, where a Weave is something that you kind of have to wait it out and make sure that it's at its utmost before you want to go in and start trying to take a team fight. So I think that all in all, Complexity's draft this game, it's a more all-around kind of style, and they've shown that they can take some really solid fights and that they understand the strengths and weaknesses of their draft. So I'm kind of excited to see them on a team composition that's not built around 3-minute cooldowns. You know, it's like I want to see some real fighting here, and it seems like they're going to be meeting M5 head-on.
Yeah, it certainly seems like that at the moment. We're going to see a lot more regular fights coming out from both sides with these drafts. And Viper will be the final pickup for Moscow 5, a hero that we talk about being very strong indeed against the Troll Warlord. And with a Zeus, an SK, and a Clockwork, 3 heroes that primarily do rely on that magical burst, Viper, on paper at least, looks like a very sensible hero to be picking at this point.
It's really nice because no matter what matchup he gets, he's usually favored, even against heroes like Sniper. Chessie mentioned this. I don't know if he said it on stream or off stream, but he said that he likes to play Viper against Sniper. Yeah. Not only because it rhymes, but because you can just get corrosive skin and you walk in a shrapnel in and out. And I think you were there too when he said that.
Yeah,
but,
we did have this discussion,
it's a really cool thing to note because most people think, oh, well, he's just super long range, you can never hit him. But if you have reactionary damage, it always works, right? So it's just something cool to keep in mind.
With that pickup, I'm kind of feeling it. You might correct me here. They've obviously got the Bristleback and the Viper. Yeah. 2 heroes that can arguably solo lane on themselves. Viper can very safely go in the solo safe lane. Where do you send the supports? Do you go aggressive with the Bristleback to try and put some pressure on this potential Troll safe lane? Or do you keep them down with the Viper and look for the easy kills and being able to heavily zone out the clock?
If I'm M5, I think 2-1-2 is fine.
2-1-2?
Yeah,
okay.
So you probably put your Dazzle and Bristleback top lane, and then you put either the Viper or Lina mid, depending on whoever you want to get the majority of the levels. Probably, I would guess Viper. He's a bit more durable, does better, I think, against particularly Zeus. Because every time you arc lightning, it's kind of the same as a shrapnel, right? Like you'd be corrosive skinning him, and it's just relatively annoying. But we'll see how they decide to lane it. But M5 showed last game that their dual off lane is very potent. Like the Spirit Breaker and the Phoenix did serious work that game. So
really did,
I'm expecting to see more of the same.
Yeah, it certainly worked out when they have 5 players at least. They're starting off with those
M5
lanes.
name a little misleading.
It was more of an M4 in that one. And Mirana was the final pick for Complexity. So it looks like lane-wise, we'll almost certainly see the Zeus mid with the Clockwork on the off lane, the Troll in the safe lane being played by a ZY. Sanking Mirana, how do you rate them as kind of roaming supports? Can they make a lot of action happen across the map?
Well, I think when you pick a Mirana, it's one of those supports that can get a kill as a solo support, right?
Okay.
Which is pretty uncommon. You don't really think of a lot of heroes in Dota and say, yeah, this hero can kill with just one roam.
No.
But if a Mirana arrow lands, it's a 5-second disable potentially, which is plenty of time to kill anybody. So when you have a Sand King who needs to farm the woods to be effective, you need another support that either A, is a great zoner, or B, needs to be able to gank on his own. And in this case, her own, as they've picked up Mirana. So I think it's a really solid choice. I don't want to use the pun hit or miss, but let's be honest, it really is.
It really is very relevant.
It really is.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll see if the arrows are indeed on point today as we get ourselves into the second game of this first best-of-3 series today here at DreamLeague Season 3. I'm ODPixel. Joining me, of course, as always, is Draskell. Moscow 5 versus Complexity, first game in this series. As you can see at the top, so no need to put in exclamation mark score in the chat. It is 1-0 to Complexity. And lane-wise, seeing on what we've got coming out from both sides, it is, by the looks of it, going to be Zed-Freak on the solo safe lane clock. And they're intending, by the looks of it, to run it aggressive with the Troll, Sand King, and the Mirana.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Zududu Mirana.
The
New
Zududu.
hero, just been added to the game. But Riser starts Boots, which is fairly common for any Sand King, because before level 3, jungling is kind of tough. So you need at least some kind of presence, and getting level 1 Burrow is very hard to land because the range is 350.
Yeah.
Not great. Like it's really just mediocre. And in a lot of cases, I'm really surprised they didn't just give the bounty to the Sand King. Because getting the Sand King to level 2 at least is really nice, because you can stack the small camp and just sandstorm it down. But because Riser doesn't get the bounty, that means that he has to kill like 2 or 3 large camps or soak more EXP from his lane. So I'm a bit curious as to why a hero like Zeus, who has an amazingly easy laning phase, needed the bounty rune.
All right, and in terms of lanes, it looks like Complexity did actually, they changed it back around. So it is going to be the Clock on his own on the offlane, has the Mirana roaming around near him at this point in time. Maybe they can find ZXC, so it's going to be this safe lane Lina that we're seeing primarily being drawn into this patch by Asus.Polar's Illidan Stormrage. ZXC wants to give it a shot here. He's going to be backed up by the Vengeful Spirit, and it is the 2-1-2 you talked about. But with the Viper in the mid lane, and do you think that's sensible, putting the Viper up against the Zeus rather than the Lina?
I think the Viper is a better matchup because Zeus is one of the few heroes who can outrange Lina spells. So you use your Arc to CS a lot of the time. You go for the bottle. A lot of Zeus players are going for the Bloodstone build now, so you're just like spam, spam, spam all the time. And it's nice to have a hero who will deal damage to the Zeus just by getting hit. Like there's not really any other heroes who can do that kind of thing. And I really, really hope this isn't what I think it is. I'm gonna take the high road. And we're just going to talk about the game. We're going to talk about the game.
Deep breaths. Whew.
We're going to say that this Mirana is going to throw a sick, nasty arrow and hit this Viper middle lane, and it's going to be first blood. That's my prediction.
Is it definitely first blood if that arrow connects?
Oh, at this health, definitely. He dies. Like, I mean, Swindle's got like almost full mana, and he's level 3. So what he could do, if he wanted to maximize damage, is just put a point into Bolt, or he could go double Arc, which a lot of Zeus players do actually before they start leveling Bolt at all, because the first level is like pretty meh, you know?
Yes.
Or you just hold on to the points, and then at level 4 and 5, you just start dumping him in. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it certainly looks like he'll potential. Talking about this top lane, that they've left the Troll in with backup of just the Sand King at the moment, of course, with the rotations that Mirana is making. And Troll's having to deal with a Dazzle and a Bristleback. That is not a nice lane for the Troll.
It's terrifying because you can actually die as Troll to that, because you don't need to be able to auto-attack to deal damage. The one thing about Bristle, though, is he's like an all-in type of hero.
Yeah.
So you have to have a lot of mana to ensure that you can get a kill in the early game. If you're sitting at 70 mana, you have enough mana for 2 Quill Sprays, and that's it. Yeah. So later on in the game, it's not as relevant, but to anybody who likes playing Bristleback out there, is you need to be very, very conservative with your Quill usage unless you're going to be able to either A, fully zone the hero, or B, get a kill. Because if you use all your mana, you're a creep.
Yeah.
You're not scary before like you have a Vanguard and like treads and level 8 or 9 or something like that.
Certainly, and this is, as you said, there's a lot of killing potential, and yeah, with the shallow grave, with Bristlebat being able to, you know, he can technically dive towers without the backup of the Dazzle. So if you've got the Dazzle as well, he can afford to go very, very aggressive. And a Sand King, I believe the Sand King's still sitting at, is he at level 2 yet?
Probably. I think he probably is. No, he's got no experience at all,
so
actually.
A level 1 Sand King, I can stop them a little bit with a nice Burrow Strike, but if M5 decide to go for it and the opportunity's there, I can see this very potentially being a lane that the first blood could occur in.
Yeah, it's possible. One of two things could happen. It could be like an overextension from M5 and they get countered by Riser.
Yeah.
Or the dive could be successful. Like those are pretty much the only two options. But with the mana right now on the Bristle, unless Bignum, he has a Clarity. So he can Clarity the Bristle. But again, you need like full mana. You can't go in with 200 or 70 mana and expect to kill.
All right, we're back on with the game, so let's get it back on its way. And that was a fortunate little break because it didn't last too long. The arrow is going to get whiffed.
I was wrong.
Non-Sensei Nikolai Sky was a little bit too far across the river. Top lane, talking about maybe a little too far. Moscow 5, they're going for it. Riser is there just to try and catch them out with the Burrow Strike if they go too far. They won't be going too far today. ZZY is going to be A-okay. Looking at the CS so far, Zeus in the mid lane, 10-0 up against the Vipers 7-1. So we are seeing that Arc Lightning spam secure a fair bit of farm for the Zeus. And down in this bottom lane, there's a Freak. He's managed to find himself 5 CS against this dual lane. I mean, the Vengelina dual lane, if he gets caught out, can they kill him? It's not enough burst damage against a clock, really?
If he's at full health, he won't die. Like he'll drop a cog, and because the Venge stun range is so short, the Venge almost always has to open. Because if cogs are down, you actually can't even get in range to stun the clock if he's standing like on the farthest side, inside of his own cogs.
Okay.
So if you imagine he's close to the tower, and then the Venger's on the opposite side, you can't stun him.
Top lane. There's going to be a Burrow Strike. The arrow just coming for a little bit late. The timing isn't there from the side of Complexity. They get the slows off from the axes, but they won't be able to pursue that kill. And I mean, I know it's only 3 minutes in, but isn't it a little bit worrying when your Mirana hasn't been able to make too much happen? And the Sand King, he's been doing his best to stay in lane and protect the troll, but as well himself only just found level 2. I mean, is this all right, or do your supports need to be finding more action with this kind of lineup?
The biggest worry is just Riser. He's going to soak until level 3, and then he's probably just going to either disappear and let TLK sit top, or the Mirana's going to continue to stay out on the map, and the Sand King's going to literally have to stay here, because otherwise they're just going to run at the troll and try to kill him. And they're going to try to go for the Dazzle here, but Riser can't get close enough for a burrow on him.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to throw the burrow out onto Tron. I'm sure they've got the Shallow Grave available, or maybe not. No. Went for the point in the... Because I guess they were playing aggressive, wanted to harass.
Yeah.
And that gives away the first blood there, and Troll getting that as well. He's going to be very happy with that, especially in a situation where he was only sitting on 11 CS. He wasn't having a nice time of it.
Yeah, the kill is huge, though, because now Riser's going to hit level 3 before the Bristle comes back to lane. Also, very nice realizing that the Bristle had no mana whatsoever when they went on him. So if he had mana to quill, Riser would have died, and it would have been a 1-for-1. And he might have even died before they killed the Bristle in the first place. So really nice shot calling there from Complexity, understanding that an out-of-mana Bristle is a melee creep, and they slayed him.
Indeed, so 1-0 on the board, 4 minutes in. Rise, I believe, he must have just hit level 3, heads himself into the jungle. Top lane is going to remain this Bristleback and Dazzle, trying to do their best to disrupt the farm of the Troll bottom lane. There's a Freak, has got a double damage. He's level 4, about to hit level 5, still a bit off the 6. ZXC throwing out the Dragon Slave. He's got the bottle on top of the boots and the null tally. Well, there's going to be a rotation from the Mirana, thinking about where her next movement is going to be towards. But we see the Radiant wards on the top side of the map, making it very hard, really, for the Mirana to catch anyone out.
Yeah, I mean, it was very fortunate last time because Ziz went in for some body blocking on the Bristle that allowed Riser to be able to get in range to land the Burrow Strike that lined up the arrow. So it was just a lot of really nice teamwork that allowed them to secure that first kill. But I would really be surprised if it ends up happening again. And the other nice benefit of having this dual off lane is what we're seeing now, is anytime there's a creep pull, Complexity can't really fight without a creep wave unless they have their third hero. And they can just be annoying and just make the lane push into their own tower as much as they want. Whereas if you were Radiant, or if you were Dire, excuse me, in the offlane, you wouldn't have that option. Like, you wouldn't be able to pull yourself, which is a huge advantage for laning phase on Radiant.
Bottom lane, ZXC continuing to harass Zafreak back. He's on his way to the level 6 now, and Zafreak himself, I can imagine, he must be closing in on the hook shot also at this point. Yeah, he's about halfway through the level 5. And I mean, once he's got a hook shot, he can't really go for a kill in this lane, can he? Unless the heroes themselves, the Lina and the Venge, are kind of sitting at half health. Because as long as they're both there, they're going to be able to back each other up in terms of stuns.
Yeah, they need to be a little bit harassed before you decide to go in. For like 60, 50% HP, you could definitely go for a kill. But ZXC, I really like the fact that he's gone bottle. Two reasons. First, he knows that the Mirana's more or less sitting top and going mid from time to time. TLK is not going to run all the way across the map to try to land an arrow on a safe lane. It's just a waste of time. So he knows that the bottom rune is more or less always going to be available. And since the Clockwork has 2 points in the flare, it also keeps you at a higher amount of HP. So if in fact Zfreak does go on you, you're not at that threshold where he can still get a return kill before dying. So it's a really, really smart choice. I like it a lot.
And dying could potentially be there soon, as the Laguna Blade will be online with a couple more creeps down. There we go. So with the Laguna Blade now and the Vengeful Spirit, they could very well catch out and burst down this Clockwork, who is there staying to the side in the tree line. Now moving forward. Zefreak does need to be careful in this lane. They haven't quite got vision. That Observer Ward not giving them the vision straight down towards the clock at this point. But 1-0, favouring the side of Complexity. 7 minutes in. Looking at the net worth from the heroes across the board. Well, actually, to forget about that, there's going to be hook shot actually on to the Lina. Mirana arrow to follow as well. Lina will be the first one to fall in this occasion. And now with the Battery Assault chasing down the Venge as well. And this could be the rotation to the safe lane that TLK needed. And that was a big, big play there from Complexity.
It was good communication. As soon as the clock hit 6, like prior to having hook shot, there's basically no way that Mirana wants to roam, because there's no way to guarantee that an arrow will land, and it's better off to just stick between mid and top. But because Zfreak was level 6, he lands a hook shot that lines up a guaranteed arrow, which is a completely different story. Like prior to the Clockwork having that hook shot, it's too big of a risk for TLK to waste that time. And of course, you want Zfreak to get solo experience anyway, and TLK would end up leeching if he ended up going to the lane. And on top of that kill, they're also going to de-ward the lane ward that was dropped bottom. So all in all, Complexity, very impressive start.
Indeed. Now TLK rotating towards the mid lane. I really want to do something about this Viper. He's got the highest net worth on the board at the moment. Item-wise, going straight for the Mechanism, which is only just over 100 gold away from completing. And 8 minutes in, this Viper, what is the plan of action here? Are we going to see him sit mid until they take the tier 1, or will he look to try and help out the other lanes?
This is a fighting lineup from M5. You don't make an early mech on a hero like Viper and then watch your other lanes kind of split farm and stuff.
Lina needs to be careful. Zafreak with an Invis Rune has the hook shot available as well. Is anyone else on the side of Complexity coming down to help him? There is a Mirana about. She's not really looking to arrow. Maybe she comes in with an arrow. They could try and fight this one. But maybe they're just waiting for M5 to come to them as ZXC and Slander move in closer. Where's the arrow? Surely it's there. It will be there. Catches out the Venge, but I don't know about that. That was a little bit of a mess there from Complexity, and they lose the clock.
Okay, so I don't know if that was on purpose, but if it was, Slander already gets my MVP for this game. It was very difficult to notice, but when that arrow was fired, there was vision from the creep wave, and he walked up in a way so that he would take the arrow instead of the Lina. Yeah. Because if the Lina gets arrowed, that Laguna never goes off, and then the Clockwork lives, and both heroes die. So if he did that on purpose, he's a god. Like, that's all I'm going to say.
Indeed, very nice play. And that's going to get M5 on the board now. 1-3. Nice bit of gold going as well to the Bristleback as he clears out some of the Ancients. Smoke up now from Big Num and Slander. Who are they going to set their sights for? It's not going to be Zafreak or the Zeus, as they're kind of hanging around towards the bottom half of the mid lane. And Big Num and Slander, they're going to continue the rotation to the top. I mean, with just the Dazzle and the Venge, it's going to be a hard kill trying to take down the Troll on their own. Is anyone going to TP in to back up? It looks like it's not going to be the case, and perhaps, yeah, this smoke this time doesn't look like they're going to be able to find anything unless Swindle Melons walks into this, looking to get the 10-minute rune. And that'll be the Viper with the treads, and I can imagine BKB sorry, not BKB, Jesus Christ, the Mechanism complete as well. Treads and mech. Now 10 minutes in, but no, the smoke will be unsuccessful. They don't find anything at M5. And looking at the net worth, with the Viper at the top and the Troll just behind, and then you've got the Lina, has been farming very well as well. It feels very balanced so far, and it is kind of down to these rotations, I feel, from both teams' supports.
Yeah, the things you want to watch out for right now is like Z-Freak is the #1 hero that we should be focusing on because he's the guy who's going to be finding these solo kills.
Yeah.
He's pulling the supports apart, making the space for his team, like the Troll especially. Ziz didn't have a phenomenal laning phase, but he's recovered really well.
He really has.
I mean, he's top of the net worth after having pretty bad start. He did get the first blood, though, which is important to note. And see a casual Zeus ulti there, just for a little bit of vision. But this is kind of the key, right? With the Zeus ulti, you can scout your targets for your clockwork.
Yeah.
And if the Mirana is anywhere nearby, you guarantee arrows as long as the Venge doesn't have swap yet, which of course, Slander is only level 5. So I think the synergy between Complexity's heroes is actually quite high as we're going to see initiation here.
Yep, indeed, hook shot. They got the blink completed on the Sang here as he blinks in Burrow Strikes. They do find the Venge, but they nearly lose the clockwork as he gets Laguna Bladed. He'll be able to get out. Riser slowly ticking down. I think that was the corrosive skin returning the damage there from the Sandstorm. So a little bit unfortunate there, but I think he couldn't really run away in that situation anyway. ZYZZY trying to find what he can on the top tier 2. So it's a 1-for-1 trade, just Sanking for your Venge. It's pretty even, maybe slightly favouring M5 in the sense that was Complexity revealing that they have the Sanking Blink Dagger for the first time.
Yeah, but we also have to say that there's a Blink Dagger on a Sanking who got his bounty rune stolen by the mid, and then didn't really have much to do in lane for a while. He secured getting the first blood for Ziz, but other than that, it was like he got level 3 and he just went and did his doo-doo doing. So one of the weaknesses of M5 is they don't really have a strong way of punishing a jungler. Like, they can't have somebody go and sit on Riser the whole time. No. It just doesn't work because you have to worry about arrows flying at you. And if you get hit by an arrow, it's a guaranteed kill, like I said. So the way that Complexity have done this is Z-Freak gets his level 6, and he just starts being crazy active. And now with Riser having a blink and Bignum eating an arrow to the face top, as he will die, it's kind of Complexity's moment right now. I mean, this is their momentum.
It certainly feels like it. M5 with 3 heroes mid. We're still yet to really see this Viper do anything too spectacular. Kind of apart from when he had that corrosive skin incident against the Sand King. And tier 1's going to get fairly low. There's going to be a fortification from the side of Complexity. They throw out the Thunder God's Wrath just to see where the entire team of M5 are. They know that the Viper and Lina, they're deep on and they're all alone. They do get caught out by Burrow Strike, but the mech is going to give him some time to live before he takes an arrow to the face. There's the Lightning Bolt to burst him down as they will bring down the Viper for what is I believe the first time this game, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's really tanky. I mean, he had Ogre Club, Mech, Strength Treads, and didn't matter. Still just kind of got destroyed there. And I believe they did get the tower kill, so it wasn't a gigantic loss for M5. But again, their lineup is geared around taking these larger engagements. 3 of the 5 highest net worth are on the side of M5. So I imagine, like, this Bristleback now has his wand and his treads up. These are the fighting items. I think now M5 are going to try to emphasize pushing into these tier 1s. The scary part, though, is Riser. Like, if these 5-man start happening, he's going to be the one landing these eppies and these giant burrow strikes against a team that has to stay relatively close together. I mean, let's be honest. If you want to be in mech range, you're kind of in epi burrow range as well. So it's a bit scary right now if you're M5.
Certainly. Swindle Melons is going to be able to find himself an invis rune. There isn't any. There is there. They're going to deward it first before they look for any kind of shenanigans with that invis. Back in the mid lane, Viper continuing to look for the farm. I mean, with that Ogre Club, is it what you're going to imagine to be a straight BKB rush, or will he go for the Aghanims?
I think Aghanims is crazy good against Troll. Like, you Aghanims, ulti him once he pops BKB, or even if he's just going in general. Like, later on, he'll have a BKB, but obviously for now, he's just sitting on his Morbid Mask, his Aquila, and his Yasha. So that is a great way of keeping him from doing anything during a fight. Like, you ult him, and he's walking around, and he's like, okay, what do I do now? But the 5-man here from M5 just trying to take some towers, and it looks like it's just going to be a 1-for-1 trade as Ziz gets bottom. But Ziz also committed a lot less for that push. Like, he was a solo hero. And the warding from Complexity is very, very aggressive. So they are looking for these opportunities to land arrows. They're looking for these opportunities for hooks. And it seems like M5 is going to smoke up here. And there's no telling if they're going to TP to a tier 2 or if they're coming in from behind, because the warding is not going to matter.
It looks like they are setting towards the tier 1 in the mid lane, but Cole, they feel it and they back off. They don't want to fight at this point. But yeah, as you're saying, a lot of wards very aggressively placed from Complexity. They're going to be aware of them coming in, and maybe they'll take this fight. The weave gets laid down, so the armor's going to start building up. They pop the Moonlight Shadow. Dust actually only catches Ryzer in the tree lines. And there's the epicenter. Well, Ryzer, he wants to turn it around. Go straight in with the Burrow Strike onto Bigdom. They bring down the Dazzle to kill it off. Viper Strike is thrown down onto Zefreak, who tries to TP out in the cogs, gets caught out by a Light Strike array. Maybe he will be the return kill, and it certainly looks like it. So it's a 1-for-1 trade, and everyone else on the side of Complexity will get out. But, okay, M5 will be happy with that, taking down the Clockwork.
Honestly, M5 should have gotten ruled there. Like, Complexity were in such a good position. They had no idea where they were. Like, Complexity revealed the smoke with Swindle having an invis. And then they had Ryzer completely unseen sitting in the trees. All they had to do was send in one tanky hero to just be like, oh, like, they see him, let's all group up and try to kill him, right? So you send in Zefreak, for example, and he pops the cogs. Then Ryzer gets like an ulti on 3 or 4 heroes and you crush. I actually think that Complexity played that way too scared. Like, they had such a vision advantage and a positional advantage.
Indeed, well, it's still 7-3 on the board. And we see, yet again, M5 just cleaning up those Ancients, continuing to find the farm for their Bristleback, who, albeit though, is still very far behind the Troll, for example, who's getting a little bit out of hand now. 8.3k gold in the bank. The gold lead, in fact, as we can see, it's just over 2k for Complexity. XP-wise, around the 3k mark. So it's starting to break away, but it's still nothing too great for the side of M5 to try and bring the game back from. And, well, I mean, what's the game plan here? Are Complexity happy? Do they need to keep going aggressive, or it doesn't really matter because they've got a Troll if the game turns to a more passive farming state?
I mean, the scary thing is for them is that there's a Viper and a Lina. Yep. I mean, they're not the craziest kind of carry-style heroes, but Lina does a substantial amount of damage, and Viper can take the Troll out of the fight with relative ease. Like, he doesn't even have to commit. He just has a crazy range ultimate that says, all right, Troll, you're useless for the next, like, 5 or 6 seconds, right? But alternatively, Zeus damage is pretty crazy, and Swindle has opted to go for a Midas, which means that he's going for the late game. He might be going back for his Bloodstone as well, as he's got his Arcane's Point Booster and Soul Ring, so that will likely be his choice. Okay. And then his late game damage is going to be nuts, but Zefreak mid. Yeah,
mid lane, they came in, closed the distance with the smoke, and they'll very easily be able to catch out the clock and find a quick kill. Moonlight Shadow was popped just in case the clock might have been able to get out of there. They're going to try and turn around with this Moonlight Shadow. They have 3 heroes around the bottom rune. Zeus picking up the double damage.
Is under attack.
Well, no, it looks like they're going to keep themselves back, keep themselves safe. It's Complexity back out. The Troll's going to stand strong and hit down onto the tier 2. M5, they look to avoid this fight totally, and they head for Roshan themselves. And they will lose the tier 2 indeed, as Troll finds that. And, well, Roshan, it's, I guess they've got the Fire Star, they've got the Viper as well. It's not necessarily going to be the quickest. The Lightning Bolt from the Zeus will catch up, but he gets swapped back. Throws out the Thunder God's Wrath, tries to get out before he dies, and he will do, but he will also die as well. TLK on the high ground. They've only got 4 heroes. They do have the Epicenter available now. Roshan ticking very low, and they're going to challenge up the Epicenter, and there's the blink. They're looking for a bow strike. He actually just opts to go for the Venge first, so they find an easy quick kill. Now comes Cole, Zefreak with the hook shot. He's managed to trap up ZXC on the Lina, but they've already lost the Troll and the Zeus. Troll is going to buy back. ZXC gets the Light Strike array, and with the Bristleback, they find the kill. The Ryzer will find the return onto the Lina. Lina's going to be able to buy back and get ourselves, hopefully for the side of M5 into the fight. Arrow flies through. Tron is going to be able to juke this one out. Ryzer getting fairly low, heads into the pit. He's going to be able to blink out. Yeah, kind of toying with it there.
I panicked a bit there. I was like, Ryzer, are you going to blink?
Just waiting for the last point. Now, Complexity, they've only got 4 heroes up compared to the 5 of Moscow 5. Are they ready to go? And again, they of course don't have Epicenter for round 2. And it looks like after this, they might just have to let this one go. And yeah, it will go down. Bristleback takes the Aegis, also takes an arrow to the face, but the follow-up just isn't there at the moment for Complexity. And Complexity, the lead that they had, I think that's going to be turned around a little bit there by M5.
Honestly, Melons was so far out of position there. Like, he had no business being around the pit like that. He has no mobility items, so no blink, no force staff, not even a ghost scepter to save him from anything that could happen to him. And he just goes in and throws out a casual lightning bolt. Like, pretty cocky play, and he got punished real hard for it. And I guarantee you, if he was alive, Complexity would have been able to easily take that fight. Like, there were so many heroes in M5 who were within, I guess, Zeus ulti range, if you want to call it that, that could have either died or been completely forced back, and he just wasn't available. So that decision in of itself, I think, brought M5 back into the game in a very, very big way. Plus, Ziz bought back. Like, he died and then bought back to try to stop them from getting Roshan, and they get it anyway. So that choice was not great.
Indeed, well, Tron, he's going to find Zafreak here. Joe decides to go in. The cogs are available with the Battery Assault. It's actually going to put Tron off chasing this. There are other members of Complexity in the neighborhood with the Sand King and the Mirana heading up to the top lane. In fact, with the backup of the Troll as well. So Bristleback, he is going to get himself the hell out of there. 7 to 9. See, Venge, she's going to stack up the H's again for this Bristleback, who is beginning to close in on the Troll. I mean, we're seeing 8.3k coming up on the Bristle, just behind his fellow teammate, the Viper. We're going to see Hood of Defiance now for the Dazzle, and the smoke's going to be picked up for Venge, so perhaps M5 will look to try and go again. That's going to be the Thunder God's Wrath gone, and now that's a really good window to go for a smoke gank.
Yeah, I mean, this is ideally when you do it, because you know it's not going to be up for 90 seconds. Honestly, though, I think you kind of need to wait a bit, because even though they just pop Zeus ult, your Viper just got his Aghanims, you kind of want Bristle's BKB.
Yes.
Like, that is a really, really nice timing to have Aegis, BKB, he's only about 75 gold away from it right now. Yeah. And then you just take a team fight off that, and then you push, like, in my opinion, you probably go bottom, because the tier 1 is free. If they want to try to fight into Aegis Bristleback, then you just kill them. So I think right now, the next team fight is M5's to lose.
Okay, well, here we go. Smoke on 4. Bristleback's going to stay in lane. He's not going to get the recipe sent out to him quite yet, I don't believe. So he is going to enter into this fight without the BKB on the Bristle. No one in the jungle at the moment on the side of Complexity as they actually head down towards the south side of the map and towards those Ancients. M5, are they going to be able to find the complete wraparound here? As their Complexity still remain quite far away from them indeed. That's your BKB flying out to Bristle. So BKB now on to the Bristleback. They might find the Mirana here. Mirana leaps away. Courier coming through as well, delivering the items over to, I believe, the Clockwork with his Blade Mail complete. But the Dust was, Smoke, in fact, was unsuccessful. But M5, we're going to use that opportunity now to push in the tier 2 on the mid lane. At the same time, Complexity might try and raise the push to high ground at the Radiant.
Yeah, this Bristleback is terrifying right now. You got Weave, so you have a lot of plus armor. You got your BKB, your Vanguard, your Aegis. Complexity, no, they can't really contest. There's two insanely tanky heroes, so what do? They opt for the alternative, which is, let's deal some base damage, try to retreat. We know the M5 doesn't have great initiation. So if worst situation happens, we just start to rat, Oh, hook shot on mid. Very nice from Z3.
Indeed, well, Slander gets caught out, and Zeus, being a Zeus, finds the kill secure there with the Thunder God's Wrath. I guess he could argue it was also used just to see whereabouts the rest of M5 were, as they were beginning to close in.
Does that give you a Bloodstone charge? Killing with a Zeus ult? It does, right?
I imagine so, because it
he has
global
9.
And, yeah,
I think it does.
Oh, there we go. So makes sense then. Yeah. Another reason for getting the kill secure there, Swindle Melons, is I think the jury's going to side with him then on that one. Yeah. But a nice little kill keeps Complexity in the fairly comfortable position that they did have, but then they did in turn lose. I mean, looking at the net worth cross, have we seen it swing back in favor? No. Okay, not really at all. It kind of went back to 2k. XP was more of a big swing. I mean, that was obviously after that Roche fight, but now they're beginning to regain what they had before. And Trolley, he is still continuing to look pretty damn scary.
Well, the Troll is only going to get stronger, right?
Yeah.
And the way that the Zeus is played nowadays, he actually scales up like a normal carry would, because his damage output is exponential in the late game. You're throwing out these arc lightnings, you're getting your static field procs that is like, I think, 11% of your HP every single time it goes off. And then you have to worry about like double ulti, does he get a Veil, does he get Aghanims? Zeus is, in my opinion, one of the better late game heroes, just because he doesn't have to put himself in danger to deal guaranteed damage. And sometimes, depending on how underfarmed the supports are, you kind of just have to go back to base if you just eat a random Zeus ulti, right? It's just annoying. So I think in a way that Complexity's draft scales a lot better than M5's. So they need to get themselves to a stage where they're very confident in pushing their advantage, because sooner or later, this Troll Warlord and this Zeus, they're going to be way too much to deal with.
Yeah, Complexity, they find the tier 1 in the mid at the same time. Moscow 5, they're trying to get the tier 1 on the bottom, and it looks like they will indeed find it. Out on the way on the courier. Is that the Ags for the Lina? It is indeed. So that's going to be the completed Aghanims now on ZXC. Tier 1 will fall. Mid lane and top lane though, Complexity, they're continuing to push and look for objectives of their own, going for 2 tier 2s. The fortification will come out. There'll be a TP into the mid lane and a TP into the top lane by the Lina, and that will be more than enough to scare Complexity back for the time being. They pop down a Thunder God's Wrath just to make sure it's safe to farm up the Ancients, and ZYZZY will certainly look to do that and continue his reign at the top of that net worth.
Oh, this Viper. I think he dies for this. Oh, he bolted. He might try for a TP. I'm not really sure why he didn't just immediately TP out there, but he might get punished for it. Nope, they're just not going to chase. They even had Mirana and Z-Freak nearby.
They did have the arrow potential.
They don't have vision, though. Like, they can't see any of the woods. And to be honest, there was, what, 3 heroes off map? So I get why they backed there. I just thought for sure that they would go ham on that. But
Troll takes the tower. BKB's TP's out as Viper TP's in. And, well, only the 1 tier 2 now remaining on the side of the map for Moscow 5. So Complexity, even though they did take a few bad team fights, they're certainly continuing to put the pressure on against M5 and try to retain control of the majority of the map. As you see them de-warding here and trying to get some
misses, dear God. Ice Frog, please.
And, well, Bristleback, he's got the Yasha and the BKB in the Vanguard. He's fairly tanky. Level 15, nearly about to hit level 16 to get that maxed out Warpath. At 10-7, 27 minutes in, Ryzer forcing down the mid lane. He's pretty damn farm for the Sand King with the fact that he's got the old 4-staff and the straight onto the tier 2. And that will be the tier 2 going down. So all the tier 2s down on the side of the Radiant. Going to be able to find a penultimate there on the top lane and big them. He's oh, that was a big grave, yeah. And he's going to be fine. Backs himself out. Complexity, they don't want to fight this one by the looks of it. Moonlight Shadow popped and they just decided to get the hell out of there. They just don't want to fight 5v5 at this point.
It's good, though, because Complexity are demonstrating their knowledge of their lineup, which is we have good maneuverability, Troll is really fast, our Zeus has bots, we got Mirana, Blink Sand King, and a Clockwork. We're just going to dance around M5 until we feel like our heroes are either stronger or our vision lets us get a pick, and then we try to crack the base. I don't think Complexity is worried about going to the late game. I really don't. Like, again, this Zeus and this Troll, it's going to become a serious problem. And what does a Bristleback do if he gets stuck inside of cogs? Like, I think, honestly, if you don't just immediately kill the Zeus or the Troll, you just lose the fight if you're M5. Because the Zeus ulti is going to come out, and it's going to deal a ton of damage. And then you're going to have to worry about BKB Troll, an Epi, and a hookshot. Your supports are not going to be able to live. There's just no way. And what does a tanky Viper and a Bristle do against a Troll Warlord? You just get slaughtered. Like, you get stun locked and you get life stealed, and you just don't have enough damage to physically kill him.
Indeed. We're talking about the Troll, sitting on 3.2k gold now on top of the SMY and the what looks like to be a casual Morbid Mask. With the SMY build, do you think he will just go straight for the Skadi next?
For the Troll, yeah. I think Skadi is nice. He could also go Butterfly if he wants to be, like, very, very hard to kill, and it's a bit more damage as well.
And in the jungle there, Ryzer does get caught out, but manages to back out before M5 can catch him down with any of the stuns. Troll putting on the pressure on the top lane, forcing all the TPs back from the side of M5 as they come back to safeguard their base. It's 10-7 at the moment. 29 minutes in, there's not been a lot of kills, but there's certainly been a lot of pushing coming out from both sides.
Yeah, I want to revoke my previous statement, by the way. I think I'll go Skadi. I just remembered they have an Ags Lina. Like, only 1,700 health against a soon-to-be level 16 Lina. You need Skadi. Okay. Because otherwise, that's more than half your HP gone from one ulti. And then if you get Viper ultied on top of that, you're like BKB'd with no health and you're super slow. So yeah, I think he'll go Skadi.
Well, talking about the Troll, going in now on the Bristleback, doesn't want to take it to the high ground though, as the entire team of M5 are there, as scouted out by the Zeus with the Thunder God's Wrath. Back to the lane, Zeus of course working towards that refresher, has the Oblivion Star, has enough for that perseverance. And indeed just short of 16, 17, 100, 1,800 gold or so for that refresher recipe. Roshan will respawn on M5. They're in the right place at the right time here as they head straight into the Roche pit. And there's not actually any dive vision here around this part of the map, so they're really not aware necessarily that they're doing it. And even if they are, they're not going to, doesn't look like they're going to go for it. They don't have any Thunder God's Wrath to scout it out. This should be a very, very easy Roshan. Bristleback Now with the Aegis and now with the S&Y complete on top of the BKB and the Vanguard.
It's nice to go for the S&Y here. He needs something that not only gives him the capability of sticking on a hero, but just a little bit of extra boost to be like, you need to pay attention to me. Like the most common thing that bristlebacks do in a team fight is sometimes they get kited by the most important heroes who might have a BKB, so you can't apply the goo to them. And then after the BKB wears off, you get like slowed, or you get arrowed, or you get stunned, and then you're like, well, I can't really stick a target. But with a very long duration BKB, in fact, it's still 10 seconds. Like, he bought this BKB ages ago, not for the troll, of course, but for the bristleback. He hasn't popped it once. So that means that every item that he builds on top of this before BKB is used is more effective, because there's more time where he's not going to be disabled that he can just beat on somebody. So it's actually kind of cool that they haven't had to use their BKBs even though they've bought them. Like, Ziz has used one charge.
Oh, bottom lane, Epicenter, Veil of Discord, doing the damage there with the Thunder God's Wrath flying through as well. And that is two heroes blowing up very, very quickly on the side of M5. And yeah, as the Sand King, if you're able to get that kind of initiation with the Veil and with the Zeus Soul, you're going to die very, very quickly if you're trying to fight against that.
And that's 2 Bloodstone charges as well for Swindle, as he is the master secure this game.
He certainly is. And now, well, thanks to that, he has got the refreshers, fairly decent timing on what he has started off with, and heads to join the rest of his team now, as we've got pretty much, well, all 5 of the side of Complexity on the Radiant half of the map. Just going to look to clear up the jungle and take what they can, and maybe look to try and push into this, as Lina is still down for 30 seconds.
I really think that this is maybe one of the more scary points in the game for M5, because they're starting to realize the disadvantage of their lineup is, oh, we can't actually force any engagement unless we walk into a tier 3 tower, which, as we've mentioned many times during 6.83, that's the scariest way to take a fight. It's like, hey, let's just try to force high ground really hard against a Zeus with a refresher, which I'm not sure if they've seen it yet, but they will soon. And then a Sand King Epi and a Clockwork who can just hook shot and cut my team in half with a well-placed Hogs. Like, Complexity's space defense is actually very good. So I think for M5, it's going to be down to, will Complexity make those mistakes when they're pushing M5's high ground? And can they abuse it enough to the point where they get ahead and then can counter push?
Also, to add to the high ground defense, the Viper now with the BKB complete and on its way out on the Courier. 10k difference in terms of XP, favoring the Dire, favoring this side of Complexity. And Moscow 5 now with 4 heroes on the bottom lane, Complexity with 4 in the mid lane, going for a little bit of split push. The side of Moscow 5 really want to take down that final tier 2 off the map. At the same time, ZY heads to the high ground onto the tier 3, takes a lot of damage to the face with that Laguna Blade, but he will be able to survive, and well, he'll be able to heal himself up on the Ancients, at least with the Morbid and Mask, and looks to be indeed what he's going to head to do so. Still very low, and I don't know if it's going to be enough necessarily if he's going to look to try and re-enter the fight at this point.
I think the Troll needs to back.
Yeah.
If he eats another Laguna, he has no chance of living whatsoever. And he did buy Scotty, right? What is he saying?
The Satanic.
Oh, Satanic, okay.
Okay, and it's pretty... You got the VIP booster anywhere? Did he have... he must have done because it's complete.
Yeah. I think this is also a really cool choice. If you don't burst him immediately, and he pops BKB, and then Satanic, he goes right back up to full health. Now, Scotty is more, I guess you could say, durability in the sense that you don't have to worry about getting hits off to keep yourself alive. Whereas if you Satanic before you BKB, sometimes you could just get stunned and just die. But all he really has to wait for is the Viper ulti. Because if the Viper ulti comes out early after he gets Laguna'd, he can BKB to remove it, but then he can Satanic on top of that and just heal. But if he waits until after, of course the Viper ulti doesn't do any damage, but it still slows you.
Yeah.
So he needs to be really cautious about when he decides to use his combination of items. But if he does it properly, he should be able to live through just about anything.
Indeed, and well, they've got this Dire ward here, and Slander with the gem now. Wave of Terror at the high ground, realizes it is there, and will be able to deward it once he gets vision again with the next Wave of Terror by the looks of it. He can't quite obviously see it at this moment in time. So he's going to hang around and deward that, and that's been quite useful for the side of Complexity. They've been able to see a lot of movements around towards that top lane. Mid lane, Mirana getting a little bit close to the action there as Tron and ZXC rotate in. And we do see Troll and Zeus just kind of starving M5 as much as they can, clearing up the jungle. Hook shot on the top lane, onto the Viper. Who have we got on the side of Complexity here? They've got the Clock, and they've also got the Sand King rotating in as well. Clock's just going to TP out, and Ryzer, he's not going to try and jump it. BKB was popped, and this Viper a little bit too tanky to take down his own. But they do have the Thunder God's Wrath with the Refresher Orb. Now,
Yeah,
Riser could look to go for it. There's your epicenter, blinks in, and well, he doesn't even need to burrow strike yet. He will do now the Veil's on. Oh, Zeus, he tries to go for the kill secure, but the well-deserved Sand King gets that one.
Yeah, I mean, it was unfortunate that he Zeus ultied the first time before Riser actually got his Veil off, so he did less damage. If he had waited, he would have gotten a kill, because the first ulti would have put him in kill range of the second ulti, and, you know. But I don't think he's too concerned. I think killing the Viper for free is going to be more than enough. And Riser getting solo experience, he just got like a full level from that.
He certainly did. He's a very rich Sand King as well now. 4.4k gold on him. I mean, what does he pick up now after the Veil?
I mean, you can go Aghanims if you just want to go like all in around your ulti. You can even go for a Hex, like a Blink Hex Sand King. Let's also consider that he has no mana regen items at all, right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
And having to go back to base because you don't have any mana is really annoying, especially as you get later and later into the game when there's more creeps in every wave and you're missing more and more farm. Yeah. So I think Hex could be great.
It looks like he's going to go for the old intelligence item of some sort. He's going to go Shivas, yeah. So I guess it kind of solves the same problem that a Scythe does. I guess why would you just not go for it with the Scythe over the Shivas? Because I mean, is there anyone that you necessarily need to lock down in particular, do you feel?
Well, it's just nice to be able to, like, say you blink into the base, you see the Dazzle, you Hex him, because he's the one who's always going to be standing furthest back. And outside of Z-Freak, you're kind of the only other hero who has that reach, right? So I think it works well, but Shivas isn't bad either. It's not like buying Shivas is like, oh my god, he should have bought a Hex. It's more like, oh, well, he just prefers having the attack speed reduction. The bonus armor is obviously great. I mean, he's got 34 armor on a Sand King. He's really tanky. So the item has its own merits for sure.
Well, we see now 13-7. A couple of smokes available for the side of Complexity if they do so wish to use them. And now, well, two heroes, TLK and Mr. Troll in the Radiant Jungle. Thunder God's Wrath is going to give them the vision that they needed to notice that M5 are towards the mid lane. And now the TP back comes from Tron, just to make sure that Complexity can't force themselves up to the high ground at this point. And it looks like they're going to be happy with that. Zeus just finding some farm up on the top lane. Bristleback closing in on that Assault Cuirass. He's pretty much got enough to pick up the recipe as well. And Zeus now with 4.5k gold. What will we see on him? Do you think he could potentially be picking up the Scythe for the team, or is an Aghanim still relevant at this point, or is the Ags just
definitely Ags.
Ags, okay.
If you already have a Veil on your team, and you already have Refresher, Aghanims automatically increases in value like tenfold, right?
Yeah.
So I think he'll probably just go for that. And we'll find out soon what he opts to go for. He actually buys a Ghost Scepter first, so I'm guessing because he's assuming that the Bristle might just focus him. Okay. Which is a pretty decent call to make, right? Like, who do you really focus if you're Bristle?
Ooh, goes for the full-out E-Blade.
Yeah. This is also very good. We saw this yesterday, I think. Lil had an E-Blade and a Refresher, and he just annihilated a Troll Warlord from pretty much full HP. And he had the Refresher, the whole shebang, right? He had E-Blade, Dagon, Refresher, Veil, or something like that.
And the E-Blade, the Ghost Form and the Veil do stack, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you just pop people really, really hard. Also, if somebody BKBs and starts tunnel visioning on a support, you can always use your E-Blade defensively if you don't want to just use it for sheer damage output. It's a very versatile item. Obviously a good choice.
Smoke up now from the side of Moscow 5. They are going to find Riser, who will reveal the smoke. He blinks out, and that's going to be a smoke essentially wasted. Blink up to the high ground, and Burrow Strike back down. Complexity aren't going to get caught out this time. On Troll now on the bottom lane, 3k gold on top of the completed Satanic, and the Blink Dagger was picked up on the way. And we talk about the Troll situationally picking up a Blink Dagger against certain lineups. Do you think, is this primarily because of the Viper Strike?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. The other thing too is, if a Troll gets in range of you, it's very hard to get away, but if he doesn't hit you with something, he can be kited. Yeah. He's just extremely fast, so if he applies a slow, or he gets a lucky maim from his S and Y, and he's already like point blank punching you in the face, there's a good chance you're going to get bashed. And if that happens, you're not getting away ever, unless you get swapped. So Blink is kind of the go-to item to ensure that the Troll can get into his happy zone, which is basically standing right on top of you.
Yes, indeed. Well, he's standing right on top of Roshan. Goes in for it. The Thunder God's Wrath was popped to reveal the fact that they're all in fact top. So this is a very, very safe time for Complexity to go for this. And I'd be very surprised if Moscow 5 are able to do anything. That looks like they're going to stick it out in the top lane. Roshan will fall and almost certainly go the way of this Troll Warlord. And with that, could certainly look to push out the bottom lane. There's been TP'd back from Moscow 5 to start getting the defense on. And yeah. Aegis goes to Troll, Cheese goes to the Clockwork, and that is Clockwork now with the Aghanims on top of the Force Staff and the Blade Mail.
This Clockwork is going to be such a nuisance in team fights. Like, if I'm M5, I don't even know how I'm supposed to fight into this anymore. Like, let's take each hero individually, right? You got Melons. He's got an E-Blade and a Refresher, and level 3 ulti, and bots. So if he dies, he can buy back and bot into the engagement. He does a ton of damage, and he's got 2,300 health. Then you have a Mirana, who only really has to land an arrow, which is pretty easy when you have a Clockwork on your team. Ziz is a monstrously farmed Troll Warlord, which we already know that hero is ridiculous. Z-Freak has been playing a really solid game. He made a lot of space for his team. And all you have to do is land one hook shot, throw out a decently placed cog, and you separate M5 from each other. And that's also very annoying. And then Sand King, who can just sit back and wait for an opportunity to ult with all these other amazing moving parts in his team already. Whereas M5 just has this draft that's like, yeah, we got to weave. We can swap somebody if they go in, but we can't ever force a fight. And I don't know how the heck they're going to go high ground. Like, they just don't have the heroes for it.
It certainly looks to be a bit of a predicament that the M5 are in at this point. 13-7. If we have a quick flash at the graphs, how are we doing? And yeah, the increase is certainly there for complexity as we're hitting 20k gold and up to 25,000 XP at the moment, 41.5 minutes into this match. Of course, if Complexity are able to take this, that means they will take the series 2-0 against the side of Moscow 5. Mid lane, we've got the Tron, ZXC, Venge, and well, the entire team of Moscow 5 coming out. Bottom lane, ZYZZY continue to keep the lane pressured in, as well as 3 members of Complexity remain on the mid lane. Viper Strike was thought about there, but it's going to be very hard to catch the Troll out, of course, with this Blink Dagger with the Viper Strike initiation. Oh, here we go. They're going to fight here. ZZY coming straight in onto the Bristleback, who gets caught into the cogs, pops the BKB, blinks into the cogs to start to get those bashes out. But look how much damage he isn't doing. Bristleback's just standing there. He is absolutely unfazed by this. Totally. Well, Lena's going to have a bit more of an issue with the Troll. The Shallow Grave is going to be able to fly out onto Lena, keep her alive. Troll will go down, but does have the Aegis. Epicenter comes in, doing a lot of damage to the Venge, but the Venge still alive in this situation. No one has died yet. Tron, he's going for the Zeus. Ryzer trying to chase down Big Num. There's your first kill. Lena will go down, and finally the Zeus beginning to burst them down. 3 heroes, only the Viper and the Dazzle remaining. They're chasing down the Viper. In comes Troll. Hook shot. Oh, the Shallow Grave is only going to make your death a little bit more shallow. They need a bash, but he can't get it because it's outside the cogs, but they have got the Lightning Bolt, which will burst him down and stop him from getting out. Big Num, the only one left alive as he tries to run away. Blinking from the Troll. It is going to be a full team wipe going against the side of Moscow 5.
There's no buyback except for one.
Oh, yeah, it's just Lena, and Lena.
Oh, God.
Oh, Draskell, this is looking like a potential dieback. TOK's coming in, blinking from Troll. He's ready for round 2. Onto the Lena. Boris Strike holds her in place, and she is down. 4 heroes down on the side of Moscow 5. And as you said, no buybacks as well. Only the Venge up for the defense. Fortification will come out, but there's going to be a lot of damage done to this base.
Honestly, this could just be GG. Like, that Lena is dead for 70 seconds. I mean, honestly, they could throne here, or they could just kill Slander behind their own throne. I mean, that's fine, too. I just don't understand how M5 were supposed to go super late. Yeah. Because the later the game goes, unless your team has really good base killing potential, like, you can't make the other team fight you. Like, how does M5 be like, oh yeah, our only method of starting a fight is a smoke? Like, the Lena needed to blink, or they needed to get, like, the Venge a Blink Dagger, or the Viper a Blink Dagger. You need to have a hero who's like, yo, you gotta fight me right now, otherwise you're dead. And they don't have that hero. So Complexity just outmaneuvered them the entire game. And then they realized that, hey, our late game's better, so we don't need to take fights if we don't want to. But if we see an opportunity, we got Zeus ulti for vision, we got Flare for vision, we got Mirana ulti to bypass any vision in case there's, like, sentries could be down, but most of the time they were used defensively anyway. I just think the Complexity's draft is all around better. Like, if M5 were able to take, like, all the outer tier towers, like 20-25 minutes, and just choke out Complexity, that would have been the ideal way to play it out. But they never got that kind of a stranglehold on the game. So Complexity just, they understood exactly what they needed to do.
And the Complexity, they've always been ahead in this match, and they're very, very much ahead at this point. They've taken 2 sets of racks down Troll, now with, of course, the completed Daedalus on top of the build that he was already running with, and he's pretty much Oh, you pretty much 6 slotted at this point, I guess. Maybe trade the SMY in later for the Skadi if you have the money to do so, but I'm sure at the moment he'll be looking to hold on to his buyback.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just having the SNY is still pretty nice.
Yeah.
Just because the movement speed is a big deal.
Yes.
I mean, if you look at Troll, he's 5'10" movement speed. With bots
that's close
and
to
an
capping
SNY.
out, yeah.
I mean, that's almost haste speed, which is another reason why this hero is considered broken by many. But yeah, I don't think the M5 played a particularly bad game. I just think that they had very limited options.
Yes, yeah. It certainly feels like they kind of went into it with an obvious game plan, but the game plan didn't work out, and there wasn't really a plan B, especially with the heroes that they drafted. I
mean, Lina's a great core. Even though ZXC's farm isn't quite on the level of the Troll, he's actually like half the net worth of the Troll. If he gets Refresher, he still does a significant portion of damage. It's just the only time he's ever able to use that is when Complexity is knocking at their door. And when you're under those like high stress situations where it's like, if I don't land the stun or base defend well, we just lose our base. You know, that's not the best. You don't want to be defending high ground the whole game.
Indeed you don't. Well, Complexity, it's going to be their turn to try and defend from high ground as Moscow 5. They're going to go all in. They've got 5 heroes here. The TPs back from Complexity are coming in. Arrow's going to catch out ZXC, who's going to be the first to jump in. They've got a hook shot. They've got all the initiation that they need. There's your hook shot onto the Viper. Blinking from ZZY straight onto the Venge. And it's no one's dead actually yet. BKB popped by ZXC, trying to continue to fight up. Bristleback getting fairly low. Light Strike Array is going to allow the Bristleback to get back for the time being, but they've already lost the Venge. They are going to lose the Bristleback eventually as well. It's going to be a potential full team wipe, and it certainly is. 5 heroes down. GG. Well played is called. That is going to be a game over. Complexity take the second game of the series on top of the first one that they had already taken against the side of Moscow 5, and they come out and they'll be able to proceed to the next level. And it does just kind of make it a little bit sorer for Moscow 5 and all the fans out there that they did, I don't know. But you got to hand it to Complexity. They played very well in that game.
I mean, honestly, they played well in the first game, too.
Yeah.
It's not that... Honestly, this entire series to me was just about the drafting.
Yes.
Like, who got the better team? Because honestly, I think both teams individually skilled. Both teams understand the strengths and weaknesses of what they pick. And that's the most important part, right? Like, you don't pick a game or pick a team like M5 and sit back and farm against Troll, Warlord, and Zeus because this happens, you know? At some point, it's just like critical mass. You can't deal with the Zeus damage anymore. You can't even kill the Troll. So if you go super late, it's just a foregone conclusion that it ain't going to go well for you.
Absolutely, and I think as pretty much, I'd say about 70% of the games go where we see the Troll picked, we see the strength of the Troll.
Yeah.
And it was pretty much disgusting. He had a great time. Obviously not a great time at the beginning of the game against the Dazzle Bristleback lane, but Troll, he's a real comeback hero, and it doesn't matter if he has a little bit of a rocky start. If the game goes to 46 minutes, he finds his space towards the mid-game, you're going to be golden.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, I got to give a quick shout out to TLK because he landed some really nice arrows. Like,
he did,
normally you don't look at a Marana and say, this is a guy who's going to get a ton of kills.
No.
But just his presence on the map allowed for, like, the Zeus, for example, had a great time. He had 0 pressure on him the whole game. Even getting a nice rotation after Z-Freak hit level 6, I think it was.
Yeah, when he got the hook.
Yeah, and then he just hookshot in and gets another kill off that. Like, he was on point with his positioning the whole game, so... It was a joy to watch.
Absolutely, yeah. We didn't anticipate close games, and both games, arguably, for the most of it, were very balanced and close indeed. Yeah. So that is it for Series 1. We're going to be back very shortly on the casting panel with the next series, Birding United versus Crucial. But first, we're going to have a quick commercial break and, of course, send you over to our beautiful panel over on the couches. And me and Draskell will see you guys in a bit.